Dear participants, this is the fourth and final module of this online IQA course. This module builds on the knowledge of the previous three ones and brings them together to explain how to set up an effective internal quality assurance system at your university. This presentation consists of 3 chapters. So, what will you learn in this module? We will see how to evaluate the different options available for the IQA support structure in a university. Then we will help you develop strategies for setting up or strengthening your institution's IQA support structure. You will be also able to identify factors that condition the successful implementation of IQA. Then you will learn about good practices in making an IQA system work effectively. And eventually, you will have to formulate an action plan for IQA at your university, building on available knowledge and good principles for IQA. In the first chapter, we will begin by observing different models for the support structure of an IQA system. The advantages and disadvantages of each structure will be presented before discussing the criteria to choose a particular type of structure for your institution. But first, we would like to ask you 2 questions. What forms do you think can take a structure for supporting IQA? What are the roles of the different stakeholders in the implementation of IQA at your university? Please press pause and take a few minutes to think about these questions. There are 3 types of IQA structures that you can consider as options for your university: the independent structure at the central university level, the support unit under the administration, which is part of university central services, and the independent scientific structure. We will explore this in detail in the next few slides. Let us start with the independent structure at the central university level. Since it is independent, it is not part of the central university administration, but it works closely with the leadership responsible for the quality of the services, that is to say the vice presidents and rectors for academic affairs. This structure has the advantage of directly linking leadership and strategic management. Communication between these 2 aspects of management is therefore much easier. This structure is also easy to set up, as it does not require any restructuring or major changes. Independence from the administration allows this type of structure to have more freedom to perform administrative evaluation and reform. However, the independent structure at the central university level may cause some animosity from the administration by fear of losing influence. On the other hand, the structure may be seen by some as the extended arm of senior management, leading to fears about possible control from the top over academic activities. Finally, the structure may have difficulties installing permanent staff, which may threaten the sustainability of its actions. The support unit under the administration is part of the central services, that is to say the planning service, which creates a natural link between evaluation and planning. This type of structure has the advantage of easier coordination with other administrative departments due to the proximity and similarity of tasks. The central service of the university also benefits from better integration into the institution thanks to its link with the senior management and greater sustainability owing to the responsibility of creating permanent positions. However, this type of unit may tend to concentrate on exercising control and lose strategic direction. Its direct association with leadership can also lead to a greater distance from faculties and departments. Eventually, this structure may be perceived as less independent from the hierarchy and therefore less able to conduct objective evaluations or independent analysis. Finally, the IQA function can also be carried out by an independent scientific structure, such as an institute or center, which functions as an entity between the leadership and the faculties. Its autonomous nature allows it to make independent assessments and credible recommendations based on research and evaluation. Such a scientific structure may be attached to a university department, such as the Department of Psychology, and thus carry stronger scientific-led work. It has the analytical capacity to conduct surveys and address new IQA methods. This typically gives it greater credibility with academic researchers. However, it is also an expensive model, generally more suited to larger universities. Often, however, not all the organizational development and controlling functions can be covered, leaving some in the administration or elsewhere. The staff in place may not be permanent, so the independent scientific structure is often a fragile entity. How do you choose between the three types of IQA support structures? There are several criteria to consider. To begin with, you need to choose an IQA structure that fits the context, traditions, and institutional framework of your university. It is also important to consider the budget and resources available, the size of the institution, and its complexity. For instance, if the university is spread over several campuses, if the disciplines taught are diverse, and so on. You should also look at the nature of IQA and the level of analytical complexity it requires, as well as external rules and requirements, such as EQA. Clearly defining the roles and responsibilities of the different actors is crucial for the implementation of your IQA system. Several entities are central to this process. These include the academic leadership, the IQA managers, and, at a decentralized level, the faculties and departments. The university leadership defines the IQA strategies and ensures the availability of human, financial, and infrastructure resources. The IQA managers support quality assurance and make recommendations to the leadership. They ensure that the IQA system works with scientific methods and help to prepare external evaluations and accreditations. Faculties, departments, and academic staff contribute to the improvement of the IQA of teaching and learning. It is important that the quality of academic services is built in an interaction between the academic staff and the IQA managers. What factors support effective IQA systems? This is a general question that we will answer on the second chapter. We will focus on the various internal factors that determine the effectiveness of IQA, but also on external factors. To begin with, we invite you to consider two questions. What factors do you think are needed to support the establishment of an effective IQA system? Are these factors present in your university? Please press pause and take a few minutes to think about these questions. Among the factors that determine the effectiveness of IQA, we can distinguish between those that are internal and those that are external. Let's start with the internal factors, which include leadership support, sufficient quality and quantity of human resources, transparency of information, a reliable information system, active stakeholder participation, and possibly financial incentives. These three internal factors will be detailed in the following slides. Leadership support has already been identified as a crucial internal factor in Chapter 1 of this module. As a reminder, the leadership should define the university's IQA strategy and disseminate good practices and results throughout the university to the different stakeholders. In parallel, the leadership should ensure the availability of human resources, which includes organizing training to upgrade skills of the staff responsible for IQA. It is also important that the leadership ensures the availability of financial and infrastructural resources. Through all this, leadership should promote and support the development of a quality culture. Human resources are of course necessary to support an IQA system. It has been noted that the lack of human resources affects IQA activities and mitigates their effects. This is why it is important to have competent staff trained in IQA. The third internal factor that conditions the effectiveness of IQA is the information system. It must be reliable as it affects the quality of quantitative data for quality monitoring. A reliable information system is important to initiate a quality dialogue that is evidence-based and informs decision-making. Greater transparency of IQA procedures is necessary and complements the use of a reliable information system. This transparency should build confidence in the IQA system, its tools and procedures, and encourage different stakeholders to support IQA. Hence the need to communicate more effectively the purpose of IQA and its instruments to all stakeholders. The active participation of all stakeholders, administrative and academic staff, employers, students, alumni, and so on, is another success factor for the implementation of an effective IQA system. This involvement is important because it allows all stakeholders to take ownership of the IQA processes and tools, and to facilitate their implementation. An effective IQA system integrates stakeholders in the different stages of its processes, which in turn increases its transparency. Finally, financial incentives can motivate staff to engage in IQA, but their effects depend on whether IQA is considered part of the normal responsibilities of staff. In a university where the development of IQA is part of an externally funded project, therefore not considered a regular staff responsibility, a financial incentive may have a positive effect. On the other hand, in a university where the institutional culture expects staff support for IQA, financial incentives will have no impact on its effectiveness. In addition to internal factors, there are also external factors that influence the effectiveness of IQA. Indeed, as we have seen, the implementation of IQA in higher education institutions is usually a response to external requirements from the market or from the government through quality assurance and accreditation agencies. The IIEP International Survey asked universities about the external factors that they considered important and very important in establishing an effective IQA system. The results show that the requirements of the National Quality Assurance System are the most important motivation at 99% for developing IQA in institutions, followed closely by improving the image of the institution, 87%, in order to meet market requirements. To conclude this presentation, we will look at the practices that could make an IQA system successful, give you general advice, and make recommendations for your university. But let's not lose our good habits. Let's start with two questions. In your university, how does the central structure for IQA interact with the faculties and departments? What do you think would be the success factors for a strong IQA at your university? Please press pause and take a few minutes to think about these questions. There are three good practices that ensure a strong IQA structure: the balance between central steering and decentralized ownership, the integration of IQA with strategic planning, management, and organizational change, as well as the information mechanism to close the loop between evidence and decision making. We will look at these in detail in the following slides. There is a need to achieve a balance between central steering and decentralized ownership of IQA. The IIEP's international survey has shown that IQA often relies on the central management of universities, in which vice presidents assume the main responsibility. But an increasing number of universities employ technical support structures, in particular quality assurance units or cells, to provide support and assistance to decentralized units. However, there is no ideal distribution of responsibilities for IQA. The best is that which corresponds to a given university's complexity and to the level of autonomy granted to its decentralized units. For example, in universities where faculties have a relatively high level of decentralization, autonomy in the development of IQA can be considered as one of the most important success factors. In order to influence decision-making and change effectively, IQA needs to be linked to strategic planning, management, and organizational change. The integration of IQA into strategic planning is essential, both to identify actions that need improvement and to monitor the effect of decisions when they are implemented. IQA should not be structured as a standalone management function, but rather integrated with management processes. Strategic planning provides the framework of values and objectives that guide IQA in its orientation, policy, tools, and processes, while IQA tools generate information and evidence for strategic planning and resource allocation. The ultimate goal of IQA is to contribute to the development of an institutional culture of quality. Linking IQA results to decision-making is intended to close the loop at three levels. First, at the level of individual teaching performance, the microscopic level, the information generated by IQA tools, such as student course evaluations, can be used by academic staff to introduce change in their teaching methods. Secondly, at the level of academic programs, mesoscopic, the data generated by IQA tools and university statistics on student progression, completion rates, and labor market entry can provide evidence to support discussions in the review of academic programs with key stakeholders. Written reports on the results of the stakeholder dialogue on quality should be disseminated to the university hierarchy for monitoring and resource allocation. Finally, at the strategic planning level, macroscopic level, the results of internal and external evaluations can contribute to improve the efficiency of administrative decision-making at the central level of the university. To conclude, here are some general recommendations to help you implement an effective IQA system. First, we recommend that you develop flexible and qualitative tools to complement the quantitative ones. This will enable universities to generate a broader range of evidence for IQA purposes and to make up for the shortcomings of quantitative tools. Second, you should ensure that IQA tools integrate multiple stakeholders. IQA primarily collects students' views on their learning experience and on factors for their academic success. But an effective IQA system also takes into account the perspectives of other stakeholders, such as academic and administrative staff, graduates, and employers, who can provide valuable feedback on the quality of study programs. We also recommend that you develop employability-sensitive tools. The opinions of alumni and employers on the relevance of academic programs should be systematically compiled as part of IQA instruments and processes. This could help you enhance students' employability, as seen in Module 3. Do not forget to give importance to internal communication and organizational learning. There should not be any interruption in the information flow between university managers, who are well informed about IQA policies, processes, and tools, and academic and administrative staff at the graduate level. Eventually, we advise you to develop appropriate information formats to feed the quality debate at the grassroots level. Information needs to be presented in a readable and comprehensive manner. Now that you have watched this Module 4 presentation, we invite you to read the course reader and look at the complementary resources provided. You should also take the quiz for this module. As a reminder, this is an open book exercise, and as usual, you have to participate in the online debate and submit the group activity with which you will be invited to develop an action plan to implement your own institutional IQA system. Wish you good luck with these last steps.